think there's been a bit of a simplistic conception of the ways in which learning and teaching work throughout this book, particularly in the prop bench. Fortunately for me, my speaking partner in this competition is a teacher, and he's told me about how it actually works in prep time for this debate. So, a bit of context so this actually functions in the real world. While, as Open and Gov quite rightly point out, ability is important, right, in terms of determining how you'll be taught, right? Speed at which something is taught is important, right? But even kids of the same ability level learn differently. Even kids of the same ability level learn dramatically differently, right? So it is not enough to be able to say, if kids are all of the same ability level, you can just adjust the speed at which you teach. They still need to reach their maximum potential, individualized learning styles. We've all heard it is a simplified version. We've all heard about like visual, audio, and kinesthetic learners, right? But actually it's even more individual than that. We say, even on their side of the house, maybe you get a very marginal amount more of tailoring to the group, but you certainly don't get anywhere near all the way. You do get a substantial amount of other harms that I'm going to outline in my speech. So the 2 points are going to be, one, why their policy means teachers are worse at dealing with kids who do fall behind, like the standard curriculum. And secondly, why so I'm going to go into more detail about the social division outlined by opening opposition, and specifically link it to taking away from the most needy kids the only out-of-class help that they get ever under the state's control, which is actually the most important thing to help them catch up. So, first, 3 points of rebuttal. So, opening up tried to write off like the bullying point by saying, oh, we're not going to be able to compare the grades from different classes because like a 5 in the bottom class isn't going to be the same as a 5 in the top class. But effectively what that just means is, even the best kids in the bottom class are getting grades that everyone else think are bad. Okay, a 5 out of 5 in the bottom class, right? Even if they get 100% of their tests, everyone can say, all right, but it was easier for you. Okay, it just makes it easier to bully them, no matter how well they do, right? And so far as they say bad grades are a disincentive, we agree that bad grades are a disincentive. Now, if you're in the bottom class, every grade's a bad grade. Everyone gets the disincentive. Their harm's worse on their side of the house. Also, just want to recognise, I'm really surprised we've all been acting under the presumption that it's going to be the kids in the lower classes that get bullied, because it wasn't how it worked at my school. So, recognise the fact that also the smart kids are probably get bullied by the kids who are in the less intelligent groups. And again, even the kids that like get lower grades there are going to be seen as getting the high grades being nerds on pure basis of being in that class. Secondly, they keep complaining that age is an arbitrary way to distinguish between classes. The thing is, at least kids understand that age is outside of their own control. They repeatedly admit that a kid's performance is based on things that are outside of its control, but it looks like it's within their control. They self-congratulate or self-condemn. With age, they know they didn't choose when to be born. Finally, the last speaker talks about fostering a work ethic. This links into the response to the last point as well. So, they admit that the things that determine success are largely outside of these children's control, but they are making them think that it is within their control. So there are going to be kids who try their hardest and end up in the bottom groups consistently. These children are going to feel like hard work doesn't pay off, that the system stacks against them, and they're unlikely to bother in the future, no thank you. So, why does this stop teachers dealing with the neediest kids as well as they do on the state's grant plans, right? So, Open and Gov talk about the class being taught as a whole and it being pitched at the speed of the middle people in the class. We think that's a bit of a simplistic conception. Teachers also go out of their way to give individual help during class. But here's what the comparative is, right? So, without this screening, you're likely to have a couple of kids who are the most needy in each class. With this screening, the whole class is going to be needing to catch up and a lot of attention. So what this means is, whenever you have 1 or 2 kids who are the neediest, you can focus on their specific and individual problems and give them specifically an additional amount of attention, right? When the whole class is needy, the teacher has to focus on the whole class and necessarily their technique. They're not going to be able to devote extra time to the one kid who's falling behind because they're all falling behind, right? They have to, that lessens the extent to which they can give individual attention and individualized educational efforts, okay? That makes it much, much worse for each individual kid. Makes it much less likely that they are going to be able to catch up ever.
Yeah, talking about bullying or stigmatization, and we agree to some extent it will remain under our model, but we say that it will be more severe if you emphasize the differences in the same context when you put them on a scale with an objective.
So it's really funny that you're saying it will be worse when you emphasize the differences. You're talking about totally segregating them based on those differences. And like, you know, you can hide the labels all you want. We all know they're going to know which class is which. They are going to know they're different. They're not even going to be friends with each other and see each other. And think each other as more different than your side. That will be more bullying. Final point, social division thing. So there's been a consensus. It's about the ability is based on factors outside of kids' control, right? I think the biggest thing that helps kids is advance, is help outside, help that adds to what their main education. This usually comes from kids who have parents who have both the will and ability to help them do this, right? So parents who are both educated and like put in a lot of effort, or willing to pay for tutors. Note also that this correlates with wealth and privilege. So when the last speaker says, oh, but these kids are going to be friends with each other anyway, right? We say kids who come from wealth and privilege, unless explicitly exposed to kids who don't come from that, are unlikely to mix with them. But on our side of the house, they sit next to them in class. They have to cooperate with them in group activities. They see them as friends. Okay? What happens when your friend is struggling? Well, the same thing that happened to me this morning when I couldn't move because I was too hungover. Martin dragged me to someone that I could find bacon, and I felt much better afterwards because I'm his friend and he helped me. So when your friends are struggling, you give, within class, you give them out-of-class assistance with what they're struggling with, right? So where, at the moment, where on their side of the house, this out-of-class assistance is the preserve of the privileged kids. Now we have effectively a trickle-down effect, right? We have the privileged kids who do get this assistance feel, based on friendship, the need to help others in their class, so they get this benefit as well. Note that OG repeatedly say the teacher's time is limited. This is the main resource that the teachers and the education system has to get more return on their limited time for all of the children. What they do is take away these children's one means to catch up. They take away any likelihood of these kids getting out-of-class assistance. They don't get it at home, and thanks to that, now they don't get it at school.
I'd like to thank the speaker for that speech.